I will just send you the link to this video on my YouTube channel. That's it. After we finish, I will send everyone the mail with that. Okay. Are you happy with my answer? Is it okay? I didn't hear. I didn't see.
I've made a video not after the last class. I made it on Saturday, maybe on Sunday, and I have filled the link in the table.
Okay, I will write the instruction. So there are 300 people, 300 students waiting simultaneously. Therefore, let's not discuss it now. I will write a letter once again to you all.
Thank you.
So once again, so good afternoon all, and so this is our regular class in English translation practice, and from now on I'm going only to show you to speak only about our professional matters. So I'm not going to concentrate on any administrative or organizational matters. This will come much later. Therefore, please do not ask questions about this. Let's focus on our main subject. So once again, as I said to you during our previous lectures, if you want to develop good English pronunciation, you need to focus on a number of things beyond mere sounds and beyond mere practice of developing sounds. It's developing the skill of pronouncing individual words or individual syllables or individual sounds. In order to do that, you will need to spend a lot of time speaking all day long, working on individual words, phrases, constructions, and thereby you will hardly be able to profit by these practices within this very short period of time, which is just 12 lectures that I'm delivering to you all. So, and the main topic that I was asking you to concentrate on was the development of your muscles, the muscles that actually are in charge of your speaking habits. So your lips, your cheek, your tongue, your larynx, pharynx. So everything should be under your perfect control. It's more or less clear when you think about developing the muscles of the lips. You can actually practice this every morning or every afternoon by flexing your lips a little bit further, just forward and backwards, and little by little developing the muscles. You can actually do this simple exercise by protruding your lips, and taking them back. And you do it at least 25 or 30 times until you actually feel some fatigue, that your lips have reached a certain tiredness, right, in speaking. But as for the tongue, it seems that you are practicing it when you are speaking your native language, but the tongue is full of muscles, and your ability to activate this or that part of the tongue is very important for achieving good pronunciation, and therefore you have lots of practices with the tongue that, for example, speech pathologists recommend you. Many of you heard of special kinds of specialists who are developing the speaking skills in children, and when they are asking, for example, to make a tube out of their tongue, and then to move the tongue to the left and to the right, and to attach it to the palate, extend it fully, making it flat in the mouth, and making it gluing to the palate, producing the clicking sound, for example. I don't know whether you can achieve that. Then there is another clicking sound that you can actually achieve. It is also when you attach the whole blade of the tongue to the palate, and then you actually use a special force of vacuum to separate them. practice all these things. There are lots of things to develop generally your muscles of the speech apparatus, which are translated into some sort of sound complexes. Like, for example, if I ask you to whistle, this may be a very slight whistle, like whether you can whistle or not. Right. But you can whistle loudly, for example. So you can try all these things, and every exercise in whistling, in producing also the hissing sounds or all kind of clicking sounds of all kinds. These are the exercises that are developing the flexibility of your mouth, which is very, very important for the achievement of the necessary flexibility in pronouncing certain words in the English manner. There is something that is highly, highly important for the achieving of great ease in reaching the good English rhythm and in good English pronunciation is the control of your vocal cords. I don't know whether you have any idea of what vocal cords are. I will show you now approximately the picture of this. I hope you can see it now. The vocal cords are located here, and this tube is called larynx. Vocal cords are small flaps, two flaps that are very tender, actually. And when they are pressed, no air can go beyond vocal cords. But you can actually increase, even if you increase pressure here in the larynx, since it is very, very, in spite of the fact that this organ is very, very tender and delicate, it can actually resist the air pressure from below strongly. You can try it. If you open your mouth and try as hard as you can to exhale, you will notice that you can actually, you cannot do that. You cannot break the vocal cords that are pressed unless you do it through your brain and you break it. And it's interesting that this is a very good exercise to control the vocal cords almost physically and mentally. By the way, somebody's microphone is switched on, therefore it's quite difficult. Could you please switch off the microphone, or I should have to do it possibly.
Улица Крупской.
Okay, so one moment. All right. Okay. Right. So you will need the control of your vocal cords for many English sounds, and I will explain which one of them. But first, let us reach the control. The control of the vocal cords is necessary when you pronounce the ends of phrases and difficult combinations of words. And a very natural physical exercise when you control your vocal cords is when you're coughing. When you're doing that, when you're coughing, actually, you're putting together, you're pressing the vocal cords, you're pressing them, and then you increase pressure under them, and then suddenly exhale, breaking this pressure. So this is one thing, but it's not the only exercise where you can actually control the vocal cords. You can do it very often in singing. Like, for example, you can produce sounds like that. You may try. When you suddenly block the air with a voice and see how it works. Try to see whether you can achieve it or not. So my mouth is open, but there is no air exhaled, right? So it cannot. If you can reach only sounds like ha, it's not that. Blockage should be almost immediate, and you should not have the opportunity to exhale more air through the blocked vocal cords. try it several times. If you can't achieve it, I recommend you strongly doing that, because many of the English sounds today, or rather chunks of speech, are produced with a full control of your vocal cords, which is highly important. Many of you would want to have a very fine control of the vocal cords, not at the level of this active, pressive movement, but at the level of the most delicate and observable control of the vocal cords. So I can show you how to do this, how to achieve this this control of the vocal cords that is actually quite physically felt. If you open your mouth and stop breathing and hold for a minute or two like that, and then gradually begin to exhale little by little, sipping your air out in the following manner. This small creaking sound that you hear, thanks to this microphone, is the movement of the vocal cords that are released slightly, and you have this slight release of the vocal cords, and as a result, there is a creaking sound appearing that you may later on use in pronouncing some difficult English words, and I will explain which one of them. So vocal cords is something, is an organ that is quite remote, seemingly, from your control. It is somewhere deep in the throat, and at the same time it needs control. If I ask you, for example, to control your heart, or to control your lungs, or to control your liver, can you do that? Probably no. You can't control your heart. Your heart may be beating, but if I ask you, could you please control your heart? Could you make your heart beating slower? You'll find it difficult because it is inside. Or say, how can I do this? You can control your finger, right? And you think you can control it because it is outside. But there are organs also inside of you, right? That you can actually also control. Therefore, the vocal cords is one of these organs that should be controlled. Not only lips, not only tongue, not only throat in general, but also the vocal cords. Let me explain where and how you can control your vocal cords and why you actually need it. The point is that in the English language, we have the so-called positional length of vowels. What is a positional length of vowels? Positional length of vowels means that depending on the surrounding of a certain vowel, в зависимости от окружения гласного, this vowel can be either made shorter or longer, in spite of the fact that it may seem to be the same as the same vowel, but before a different word. All right, I can say, for example, can, cat, and some word like cad. It can be C-A-D, C-A-T, C-A-N, right? 3 words, C-A-N, C-A-D, and C-A-T. And so presumably it must be the same. It should be can, cad, and cat. But you probably, when you hear that, you notice that these words, the vowel that is inside is not the same as everywhere, right? There is a certain variation in that vowel. And the question is, what sort of variation it is? I'm saying that according to the English, to the standard English pronunciation, the vowel that stands before the voiceless stop, T, becomes shorter. The vowel before the voiced stop, D, is made a bit longer. And the vowel before the sonorant sound, N, becomes even longer. The length of a vowel is measured in moras. A mora is a measurement for the short vowel, for the short English vowel. Therefore, if you say just can, cad, cat, you may you may think it is the same, but for the English ear, it's an accented pronunciation. Если вы не умеете управлять длиной гласного в этих позициях, то для англичанина так сказать, вот эта вот ваша неспособность управлять длиной гласного звучит как акцент. So the question is, how can you achieve the full control of a very short vowel before the voiceless stop, like in cat? So take into account just two words, cad and cat. Cad and cat. What is the way for you to break the sound that is short already? So I say cat, right? Cat, cat. You may say cat, 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 right? It will be long enough. But I'm saying you can actually break this vowel into two parts by suddenly switching on the glottal stop, твердый приступ. And the glottal stop is a sudden contraction of the vocal cords, like I showed you in the beginning of the class. Ha! So listen what I'm doing. Cat. I actually slowed it down. Cat.
По-разному.
You can achieve this.
Пять.
You can achieve this by repeating it many times, and I hope you can achieve this little by little, and also while listening to English speeches. So today we're going to listen to many speeches like that, and you can practice on many other words or similar words like that. Like, for example, you can practice words like hat, cat, mat, and all these words. And this concerns not only a sound, but naturally all vowel sounds. You can say sit, sit. You know, there is some kind of a psychological sensation when you are listening to someone who is not actually increasing pressure, but who is just leaving his or her mouth open. And while you leave your mouth open, people have a feeling that you have finished pronouncing it. While you keep your mouth open, you say sit. So this psychological visual effect of people watching you speaking, they have a feeling that you actually made this vowel very, very short. So I can pronounce it either as cat, closing my mouth very quickly, or cat, cat. People still think that I'm making it very, very long, right? But in fact, I break it somewhere in the middle. I can't. I will not have enough time right now to tell you in how many cases you will use this glottal stop to make a pronunciation easy and simple. Just little by little, step by step, bring it into your regular practice and see how it helps you to achieve a great freedom in pronunciation. One more thing where you need a glottal stop is actually something that you may think is called length. But in fact, something that is traditionally called length in the English language, in the English mentality, is not length, but tension. Okay, let me give you a simple example. Let's take the word speak. I can find the pronunciation of this word, speak, and so you will have a chance. One moment, I will. It's actually something that you. All right, I will type in something that I can show you. I haven't prepared it. So if you take the English word speak, right, and when you open the pronunciation dictionary, you will find that that in the transcription, the single sound is written with two dots. Well, somebody taught you at school that these two dots mean length. In fact, it is not so. These two dots mean tension. And the question is whether you can produce this tension. Because if these two dots meant length, then you will have to pronounce it like speak. But nobody speaks like that, right? So this would be wrong. But even if I say, for example, speak, speak, I make it very, very short, and yet it is pronounced without an accent. So the question is, what is the difference between two dots that mean length, if there is any, and two dots that mean tension, and how to achieve this tension? Naturally, you can achieve this tension by using the same glottal stop. So I'm breaking my long sounds somewhere in the middle with the glottal stop. With the glottal stop. As a result, people hear that I'm making some effort to pronounce it, but there is no sound, and from their psychological point of view, it is the same long vowel, but strongly contracted. Speak, speak, hard, hard. So try to exercise these words with two dots, and you will notice that achieving this level of tension and not length is something that is very unusual for you, very unusual for the English speaker and very unusual for the Chinese speaker, very unusual for the Russian speaker. So it requires quite a bit of an effort to achieve this freedom. You can practice pronouncing all sorts of words with these specific sounds that I call tense. I will send you the special exercise probably to your emails so that you will have an opportunity to work on that. But by repeating multiple times this word, you will achieve not just perfection in the pronunciation of these particular words. That's not the point. But by repeating these words many times, you are developing a certain complex of muscles somewhere at the root of your tongue, which is very important for your future pronunciation of sounds like that. So speak, hard, like green. So you try to achieve this specific kind of tension and yet relative shortness. And you may compare them to a short vowel so that you will have an opportunity contrastingly to see what the difference is. So like you can say sit and seat, sit or seat. Do you hear the difference? So one is lax. I say sit, sit. I can even break this very short vowel because it stands before the voiceless stop. То есть он стоит перед взрывным глухим. А перед взрывным глухим т все гласные укорачиваются. Поэтому я говорю, смотрите, с, т. Я могу сказать even с, т. It can be, well, there's a feeling that I'm extending it, but the actual voiced element or part of this sound should be very, very short. So sit, and then the second one, which is spelled as S-E-A-T, is pronounced as something transcribed in the dictionary as I with two dots. So in this particular case, you have seat, seat, seat. The difficulty is that on the one hand, I have a length problem, and on the other hand, I have a tension problem. Because before T, I must shorten the first vowel and the second vowel. So in the first case, it becomes sit. In the second case, it becomes seat, seat. I don't know whether you hear this difference. Do you feel how tension plus length, positional length, help you distinguish between these two words? Sit, seat, hard, hat, hard, hat. So I will send you exercises where you can pronounce these pairs of words in order to achieve great contrastive clarity in the pronunciation of these vowels, and I hope you will profit a lot by that. So what I showed to you right now is just a small fragment of not of the phonetic exercise actually. These exercises that I'm showing to you right now, I wouldn't call them phonetic exercise. I would call them actually physiological exercises, because by pronouncing them many times, you're actually developing the muscles of the root of your tongue, which is highly important. And if you think that in the beginning of your practices, you are failing, but after repeating it 100 times, little by little, step by step, you can come to a situation where you can suddenly, quite unexpectedly, begin pronouncing them very, very clearly. And if you ask me, for example, where is the magic? Where is the magic? Meaning, I want to know for sure that that my pronunciation is improving, and I can tell you that the key to a good pronunciation is in physical training, not in your mental training, not in your ability to understand or not or misunderstand certain rules. Rules do not work here, but physical practices do. Therefore, after repeating it 100 times or 200 times, little by little, your muscles, your physical muscles, gradually develop. And as a result, you quite unexpectedly begin to pronounce it. You see, I'm saying quite unexpectedly. Do you notice the way I'm pronouncing it? I'm saying quite unexpectedly, quite unexpectedly. I'm not saying quite unexpectedly, quite unexpectedly. For me, this would be an excessive use of my muscle force. I will get tired of this quite unexpectedly. I'm saying quite unexpectedly. My quite becomes very, very short, increasingly short. Why do I make it so short? Short. You see, I'm saying short. Why am I making it so short? Because for me, there is a great comfort in breaking the vowels before the voiceless stop and actually leaving one small piece of a sound that actually native English speakers identify as words because they understand them in the context of speech. So that's point one. Of course, a lot comes from observation. You can listen to many lecturers and to many public speakers, and little by little, step by step, repeating after them certain sounds and certain combinations of phrases, you can reach the desired level. But once again, I will keep repeating it many times that the magic lies in physiology, in your ability to train yourself to a very good physiological status of pronunciation. Therefore, you need to do a lot of things actually to achieve this very good physical condition. All right. Then, as every sportsman, as every person who's going to a fitness club, for example, you may ask me once again, can you once again give me a very short list of the vocal instruments that I can use in order to achieve, that I can use to achieve a very good level of pronunciation. Скажите, дайте мне, пожалуйста, короткий перечень инструментов, которые я могу использовать для того, чтобы достичь хорошего уровня произношения. Только, пожалуйста, короткий. То есть не нужно мне произносить. У кого-то включился микрофон, придется опять выключать. Okay, so a short instrument, a short list of instruments that you may use for achieving good pronunciation. As I said to you last time, well, from my point of view, it's really very, very short. And I will show you once again what sort of instruments they are. One moment. So one instrument is here on this big screen. You can see it. It's called voice diapason or diapason. It's your ability to move from the very, very top of your voice to the very, very bottom of your voice. This is very important for understanding generally where you are in speaking English and in speaking Russian. And I'm practicing it, for example, in the following manner. I begin to sing backwards. Do, si, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, si, la. So I'm trying to find that final barrier beyond which I cannot go. And for me, this is important because I'm checking at this very moment whether anything changes in the quality of the sound when I go very low. For example, when I'm using my resonant voice, right? Do, si, la, sol, fa. My voice is not changing. I mean, the quality of the voice. Do, si, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Something is beginning to change already in the timbre, right? In the timbre. Si, la. la 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 la. Here I suddenly realized that something changed drastically. Not just the pitch, but something physiologically changed in my larynx, inside my throat, that made me pronounce this sound. And I love this feeling of this physiological sensation that I have in my throat, because then I begin to understand what is my bottom from where I begin to speak. For example, I say, well, I would like to speak only using my low notes, because in that particular case, I actually achieve a very good general English sensation, right? So diapason is my first instrument. And when you want to achieve your general feeling of good English pronunciation, you do it not by correcting individual aspects of pronunciation, but by working through this parameter that in itself contains a switch to many parameters. По-русски скажу еще раз, это очень важно. Иногда вместо того, чтобы работать над каким-то букетом инструментов произносительных, над тембром голоса, что-то там делать с глоткой, что-то там делать, сказать, с интонацией, ты говоришь себе, я буду работать над одним единственным параметром, это диапазон голоса, который позволит мне достичь изменения целого спектра других параметров. Он вытащит за собой все остальное. То есть если я начинаю петь хроматическую гамму в обратную сторону, я достигаю какого-то барьера, за которым совершенно непроизвольно, по независящим от меня причинам, происходит изменение физиологии моей речи вообще, в принципе. То есть я могу петь до, си, ля, соль, фа, ми, ре, до. Что-то изменилось. Чтобы спеть вот эту ноту до, я должен, скорее всего, как-то наклонить вот так вот голову, расширить шею, то есть сделать какое-то усилие, чтобы я начал это произносить. Значит, получается, в моей терминологии, что когда я достигаю ноты до вот этой самой октавы какой-то низкой, я вместе с этой кнопочкой, которую я нажимаю, вытаскиваю целый букет всего остального. Я говорю себе, классно, это то, что мне нужно было. Я хочу достичь такого состояния, когда я не 12 параметров или 15 параметров меняю, а один. Изменил один параметр, 12 появились автоматически. Поэтому нужно экспериментировать вот с этим диапазоном голоса, двигаясь там, либо на самую-самую верхушку, достигая фальцета до, ре, ми, фа, соль, ля, си, до, ре, ми, фа, соль. Ага, дошел до ноты соль, ти. Я чувствую, что у меня глотка расширилась. Я говорю, о, отлично. Я достиг ноты соль наверху, а вместе с этой нотой соль моя глотка расширилась. Я просто вынужден был ее расширить. So, one parameter, voice range, or voice diapason, works as a switch for multiple parameters. And I think if you exercise it well enough, you can achieve it, and you can bring to different levels of pitch. So this is how you can exercise actually using the traditional piano keyboard, reaching different levels, and then decide for yourself where you would want to speak. What is your English voice? Because as I showed you last time already, so your English voice may be either generally higher or generally lower. Когда я говорю по-русски, мой диапазон находится где-то в рамках там первой и второй октавы. But when I speak English, my voice actually goes much lower than that. And this is something that I achieve consciously. All right, pitch. The next piece is, well, I said vocal cords. And the next very important thing that you should be working on as an instrument for achieving good pronunciation is, of course, rhythm. Rhythm, as I said to you, is highly important for general pronunciation. And you begin by exercising your general feeling of rhythm. You want to understand whether you can control rhythm at all, whether you can sing something rhythmically, whether you can recite poems rhythmically. And for this purpose, I have a special application. I will show it to you now on the screen, and we shall see whether we can work with this simultaneously. or not. One moment. I will, yeah, one moment. I'll try to show you if my telephone works. I will probably, I'll show you, right. Can you see my telephone, right? So this is the screen of my telephone.
Yes. Yes.
Right. So I go to, do you see this this orange icon in the left top corner? This is called Groove Loop.
Yeah.
Now I click it, and now I will start using it. So this is a rhythmical trainer. So it works like that. I can want to achieve good feeling. I begin to put with this, for example. For example, I can take a poem by Edgar Allan Poe and start and try to recite it with the rhythm that I hear on the screen, like that. Listen. On.
Вас не слышно.
Probably it cannot work simultaneously, right? It works either one or the other. So I take a poem and I switch this rhythmical exercise on, and then I try to achieve the same rhythm when I'm reciting a regular poem. So I can take once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary, or I can say once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary. So I can exercise different kinds of rhythm in order to achieve a very good level of actually. So my voice and my pronunciation should go actually parallelly with this rhythm that is on my phone. I recommend you doing that. If we had been in the big hall, I would show to you easily, and but now I can't do this. All right, so exercising while reciting a poem rhythmically is very good, but you can also actually try to do the same when you are reading a page. You can take a page from a book that you are reading. I will show you one, and do you see this page?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. So I can read it in a regular English manner, something like, "It was only a duck pond out at the back of the farm. It wasn't very big. Letty Hempstock said it was an ocean, but I knew that was silly. She said they'd come here across the ocean from the old country." So I can read like that, but for the sake of exercise and for the sake of developing my rhythmical skills, I will try to read the same rhythmically as if it were a poem. I say, "It was only a duck pond out at the back of the farm. It wasn't very big. Letty Hempstock said it was an ocean, but I knew that was silly. She said they'd come here across the ocean from the old country. Her mother said that the Letty didn't remember properly, and it was a long time ago. And anyway, the old country had sunk. Old Mrs. Hempstock, Letty's grandmother, said they were both wrong, and that the place that had sunk wasn't really the old country. So what I'm doing at this very moment, I'm trying as hard as I can to achieve a situation where I can pronounce this text that is not a poem, naturally, but something that can sound as a poem. And I will try different kinds of rhythm, actually, at this very moment, not exercising reading in general, but I'm exercising a special zone in my brain that is in charge of rhythm control. A zone in my brain that is in charge of rhythm control. I noticed, by the way, that very few students, for example, in Moscow University, when I ask them to sing out loud, they fail. Even regular tunes and simple melodies, they fail doing that. But in this particular case, I think if you exercise regularly enough, you can achieve very good control of rhythm. Later on, you can, for example, again, purely for fun, but also for developing certain skills of controlling your mouth and your speech apparatus, you can use the beatboxing exercise. Do you know what beatboxing is? Have you heard of just beatboxing and with people who are working masterfully with their tongues and lips and been producing all sorts of clicking sounds and also beating sounds simultaneously, reaching a very, very good level. This is on the one hand, this is an entertainment, of course, but on the other hand, this is an excellent exercise for achieving a good muscular control of your speech apparatus. Okay, let me show you a very small example of how beatboxing works and what you can actually do at home when you have some free time, and I think you can achieve a lot. I hope you can. 1 moment. I wonder whether I switched on the sound for this. Yeah. All right. One more time. Now let's listen to this small exercise. I hope you'll enjoy it.
Beatboxing uses 4 different air supplies to make percussive sounds. Most sounds of English are made on the outward airflow from the lungs. It's also possible to make sounds from air into the lungs, or to use air just in and out from the mouth. Start by making an ng sound, as at the end of the word sing. You're using air from your lungs, your vocal folds are vibrating, and the air and sound are coming out of your nose. If you pinch your nose closed with your fingers, the sound will stop.
Dude.
Continuing with your ng, open and close your mouth and notice that the sound doesn't change. Practice opening and closing your mouth and moving your jaw while maintaining the ng. The ng is made by the back of your tongue touching your soft palate. It's possible to maintain this connection and move other parts of your tongue around. Make your ng sound and move the tip of your tongue around. Many beatboxing sounds are made with tongue movements, so find out how much of your tongue you can move while maintaining the ng sound. Now make a kissing sound. You're sucking air into your mouth, but it's not going down into your lungs. A kiss is made on ingressive air, a P or PF sound. The loudness of the smacking sound comes from the pressure of your lips, whether you're using just your lips or the lips and your teeth. Now put the ng sound and the kissing together. This takes a little more coordination because you'll be sucking air into your mouth while at the same time humming down your nose. Now change the airflow direction. Push the air out to make a P sound. This does not use air from the lungs. To check this, use the ng sound and make the P 4 times. The ng should not stop. Finally, practice 4 times with P out and then 4 times with P in, holding the ng sound the whole time. This helps to isolate your voice and the different airflows. Now it's time for some drums.
Okay, so what is this exercise about? This exercise is about your control of your speech organs and speech apparatus. If you want to achieve good English pronunciation, for example, you should, for point one, you should of course achieve excellent control of your voice, of your speech apparatus, and every element of your speech apparatus in general. How do you control lips and nose simultaneously, and the tongue and the back of the tongue, all taken together? You can of course listen to various beatboxing performances. I will show you now, but you can also achieve it by, as I said to you last time, by imitating other people's voices. Like, for example, if I asked you right now to change your voice completely and reach the level where your voice becomes absolutely unrecognizable at all. So people would not be able to recognize you. Like, for example, I can talk to you like that, right? And this very moment, my voice changes drastically, right? Well, can you recognize me, for example, when I'm talking to you like that? What sort of instrument I'm using at this very moment in order to achieve this kind of voice? Well, I stopped using my regular vocal cords and I started using my false vocal cords. I can achieve it. This shows partially my ability to control part of my apparatus masterfully enough to achieve this level of pronunciation. Okay, what I show to you right now is my small exercise of command, actually, that I can achieve over parts of my apparatus in order to speak well. Therefore, on the one hand, you understand a very simple instruction which says develop your speech apparatus, develop the control of your muscles, but at the same time you want some sort of a generalized vision of that, how it works. And for this purpose, I would probably recommend you listening occasionally from time to time to maybe beatboxing exercises. I could probably show you now a couple of exercises like that. Now, one moment. I prepared to a couple of these exercises. Now, one moment. I don't remember where I left it. Right here. Okay, let's listen to this person and see what sort of brilliance he achieves by controlling his speech apparatus. It may seem just fun, right? Just fun listening to these people, and you say to yourself, well, naturally, I can never achieve that. But if you try to approach it and use these exercises in order to achieve at least something of that, for the full control of your of the muscles of your speech apparatus, you can later on use this physical control for the achievement of good pronunciation. Now, I'm coming to the final stage when you can control the sounds, individual sounds, and I'll be returning to these instructions that I'm giving you again and again, adding some little details. But I'm saying that naturally, just exercising pronouncing individual sounds may sometimes be quite boring. And even just ordinary physical exercises may be quite boring, because when you come to a fitness club, for example, the people will be switching on all sorts of videos for you, switching on the music, and you would like to enjoy it. And this is often very helpful. Therefore, as I said to you last time, it's very good to have very good examples that you can follow, and you can listen to them several times and choose the best examples when you have a close-up of the speaker on the screen, and observe everything that I said to you today, for example, in order to occasionally stopping this video from time to time here and there, and reaching the necessary level of precision when pronouncing this person. Okay, let me show you a couple of very good examples that, from my point of view, will be very helpful for achieving great clarity in pronunciation. First comes Boris Johnson, who is speaking publicly, and naturally, his public speech should always be under his strict control, because every bit of a sound that he's pronouncing, every small twitch in the intonation and in the timbre of voice may be interpreted or misinterpreted by people. Therefore, he's very, very pedantic about what he's saying, and he's in full control of himself when he's talking. Therefore, this may be a very good exercise for you to watch and repeat not just what he's saying, but also how he's saying that.
Faced in my lifetime. In less than a year, this disease has killed almost 1 million people and caused...
So, in less than a year, this disease killed more than 1 million people. When you try to repeat it the way he said it, you suddenly realize, just in the middle of this pronunciation, that you never speak yourself like that. You are never actually using these strong pushes in the middle of the speech in order to achieve good pronunciation. You're not doing this in your regular life. And you say, well, how shall I do this if I'm speaking normally English? Когда я разговариваю по-русски, я разговариваю вот так. Я не делаю никаких ни толчков, ни прыжков, ничего не продавливаю. И когда я буду говорить по-английски, я тоже буду разговаривать таким вот образом. So when I speak English, I will also be speaking like that, right? And people will not be thinking that I'm a strange or bizarre. But I'm saying when I start repeating Boris Johnson and the way he is pronouncing individual phrases, parts of phrases, when I actually do this, not just watch it, but when I actually do this, I will realize that this is something that I do not normally do.
Good evening. The struggle against COVID.
Good evening. Even this, good evening. As if I'm very hard. The struggle against COVID. This becomes, well, in my mentality, something which is much more aggressive than I normally speak. And therefore, I should actually find some sort of consensus with my own self, and try to understand whether this general speech is acceptable for me or not. Okay, listen to this for about 1 minute and see, and try to repeat together with him. Do you know what is echoing? The echoing exercise. Вы, наверное, слышали упражнение, так сказать, shadowing, когда ты произносишь речь вместе с ним. Попробуйте произносить его сейчас, это вместе с ним, когда он говорит.
Is the single biggest crisis the world has faced in my lifetime. In less than a year, this disease has killed almost 1 million people and caused havoc to economies everywhere. Here in the UK, we mourn every person we have lost and we grieve with their families. And yet I'm more certain than ever that this is a struggle that humanity will win, and we in this country will win. And to achieve what we must, I want to talk to you directly tonight about the choices that we face, none of them easy, and why we must take action now. I know that we can succeed because we have succeeded before. When the sickness took hold in this country in March, we pulled together in a spirit of national sacrifice and...
I wonder, is there a single person here in this class who finds this pronunciation acceptable for him or her? Meaning, do you find this manner of speaking acceptable? Meaning, can you imagine yourself speaking like Boris Johnson. Like, for example, at this very moment, I'm trying to speak as Boris Johnson, imagining that I'm actually, at this very moment, Boris Johnson is speaking to a great public. Therefore, I say to myself, well, okay, I tried. And I find that some of the expressions that he's pronouncing, I can use occasionally from time to time. Not always, but I hold it in my memory as a very good exercise that I can use when I want to convince a great public. Я показал вам сейчас, что я положил к себе в память, как некоторую манеру произношения. Именно эта манера речи, как некая такая сконденсированная субстанция в моей памяти, которую я буду доставать всякий раз, когда я захочу говорить, условно говоря, там, с британским акцентом, например. И я буду доставать не отдельные звучки, которые я произношу, а я буду говорить, сейчас пойдет, так сказать, Борис Джонсон. В этот момент, когда я буду доставать его, у меня пойдет... Но потом я скажу себе, что, знаете, мне не очень нравится эта манера, она какая-то очень агрессивная и жесткая. Я хочу иметь в своей памяти что-нибудь другое, более мягкое. Когда я буду разговаривать, с публикой, не хочу ее пугать. В этот момент я возьму, пожалуй, что-нибудь, более приятное, возможно, выступление какого-нибудь британского премьера, где-нибудь при посещении резиденции американского президента, где она выступает и хочет быть приятной во всех отношениях. И я слушаю ее и пробую, опять-таки, вам рекомендую прямо сейчас повторять за ней. И посмотрите, получится ли у вас достигнуть такого комплекса в целом, который в целом вытащит там целый ряд других произносительных нюансов, которые в другом случае останутся всего лишь нюансами, и они не будут частью вашей речи. Попробуем.
Ladies and gentlemen, it has been my first visit to Washington as head of the British government, and I should like, at the end of a memorable day, to say thank you. Thank you to you, Mr. President, to you, Mrs. Carter, and through you to the American people for the wonderfully warm welcome I've been given everywhere. I know, Mr. President, that as you pointed out at the beginning of your speech, the relationship between America and Britain started off with one or two errors of judgment on our side. Looking around me at the beauty here and at the wonderful nation you've created, I'm really rather glad that my predecessors weren't successful in all things they tried to carry out.
And then I try to use the same kind of voice, speaking with the Margaret Thatcherish kind of pronunciation. Naturally, I'm not imitating her exactly, but this is something that I would like to switch on from time to time if I want to achieve a very formal kind of address to the public. And I think I love it a lot, because on the one hand, I continue to be very formal and very pedantic, but on the other hand, very friendly, because my voice actually stands very soft, and not the kind of voice that I used a minute ago when I was imitating Boris Johnson in general. So again, I take this sample of pronunciation, this generalized impression, and hold it in my memory. Something is ready-made, something that I can pick up and actually produce when occasion happens. So I continue collecting these samples, and again I find the confirmation that rude and aggressive way of thinking is also acceptable. Like, for example, John Beckhoff in the British Parliament. You probably heard of him, but he is a brilliant speaker, and he's a speaker actually with the British Parliament. See the way he speaks. And this is, to a certain extent, psychologically very close to Boris Johnson. See whether you can imitate him and pick up from him.
Of Parliament is not an automatic right, it is an earned honour. Moreover, there are many precedents for state visits to take place to our country which do not include an address to both houses of Parliament. That's the first point. The second point is, in relation to Westminster Hall, there are three key holders to Westminster Hall: the Speaker of the House of Commons, the Speaker of the House of Lords, and the Lord Great Chamberlain. Ordinarily, we are able to work by consensus, and the
All right. And now, what sort of judgment I make for myself when I listen to these pieces? Every time I exercise one speaker or another speaker, I'm not exercising just a general emotional and expressive attitude, but actually I'm exercising different phrases and bits of phrases that are pronounced by these speakers on different occasions, and I hold them as together with intonations, together with manner, together with timbre in my memory, reproducible, so that I would speak directly and clearly to my public and produce the general impression that is maybe very similar to what we see on the screen when we watch Berkoff speaking to the British Parliament, or Margaret Thatcher speaking to the American president, or Boris Johnson speaking to the British public in general. My Chinese students, for example, may ask me a question: is there any good Chinese speaker, for example, who speaks English brilliantly, and someone who is very good, who becomes a very good example for imitation? I say yes, there are a number of very good Chinese speakers, English speakers, whose command of English is brilliant, who graduated from great American and English universities, British universities, and who speak very often publicly and make themselves very, very clear, in spite of the fact that their native tongue is Chinese. Okay, let me show you two speakers. One of them is the founder of Singapore, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew. Mr. Lee Kuan Yew graduated from Cambridge University, and naturally his command of English is brilliant. And at the same time, he preserves some traces of Chinese in his speech, and yet he's considered to be a very good English speaker. So just listen, and this is a special example for my Chinese students, that they would know that even Chinese speakers may be very, very good sometimes when you are when you're looking for the example that can be imitated. All right, the interview with the founder of Singapore, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew.
And challenges.
Well, the West assumes that unless you are democratic like them, you have elections every few years and change the president or change the prime minister and the whole parliament, then you cannot make progress. You're always below par, subnormal, sub-ideals. That's their preconceived view of the world. That's
this one, or you can take the current Prime Minister of Singapore, whose English is even better. Listen.
My fellow Singaporeans, good evening. Our fight against COVID-19 continues. We've made good progress. In the community, new cases have come down. In the migrant worker dormitories, the situation has stabilized. Our healthcare system is coping well, thanks to the outstanding work of our healthcare professionals and many others on the front line.
Okay, what I want to say is the following. When you're looking for a very good, good level to achieve, and achievable level in your pronunciation practice, the first thing that you're thinking of is naturally clarity. Clarity. And this means that if you can make an effort in achieving this clarity, this means that you have achieved a very good level of pronunciation, in fact. Because pronunciation is all about decoration on the one hand and understandability on the other hand. People should understand you, shouldn't make a special effort actually in understanding what sort of sounds you are pronouncing. And therefore, for example, if you're asking me, why are you using only British examples right now and not American examples? I'm saying I'm using British examples because from my point of view, this is just the first step on the road to clarity in the first place. Because we communicate for the sake of achieving understanding between ourselves, right? And therefore, and only then, after this understanding, general, at the level of information and data, you start thinking about decorations, how to look more impressive and sound, I don't know, more formal or less formal, more attractive or less attractive, more sexy, or I don't know, more just friendly in a special way. So you're thinking of all these ways, and but this comes later, much later, when you have already built the building of clarity and understanding with the people to whom you are talking. Right. So this is actually the end of what I could say to you today, and we'll continue naturally next time. And let me conclude with a very simple notion. This notion is the notion of full command of your speech apparatus, and this is not simple. Do lots of exercises to increase not just flexibility of your muscles, but also control. Whether you can put your tongue this way or that way, whether you can move your tongue in this direction or in that direction, where you can open your mouth wide or you cannot open your mouth wide, whether you can speak with this voice or that voice, whether you can speak just suddenly stop breathing and then start breathing. Check whether all your technical systems work ideally for the achievement of the necessary level of clarity and excellent communication with the public. All right, that's all for today, and I hope we'll continue next time. And I'll be sending to your emails all kinds of exercises that you can practice. And in the meantime, I remind you of the necessity to record your own videos every week, so that I could leave some comments on how you perform and maybe give you